Well, it's 7 p.m. here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and somewhere in North Carolina. And this is Saturday night from CarEdge with your hosts, well, me, Ray, my illegitimate son, Brandon, in the middle from Car
Nope.
and my real son, Zach.
Yeah, not sure how I feel about
try
that one,
again.
Brandon.
Well,
Try again.
whatever. And if I may, it's another day, another apocalypse. I only hope that I live through it.
Absolutely. We are going to kick things off tonight, gang. We have the latest data coming from Fitch, reported by Bloomberg. The repocalypse bubble appears to be on the precipice of bursting. At least that's the story I'm telling. I'll pull the data up here in just a second. First things first, though. Whoops. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Miss Kimberly Klein, if you are interested, she launched a YouTube channel. It's called Auto Finance Sense. So go check out Miss Kimberly Klein's channel. We see those comments coming through in the chat. So please just go check out her YouTube channel. We're super proud of her and excited for what she's doing. Now, that being said, guys, the data that came out just today over in Bloomberg, they were the ones that reported this. I'll pull it up on the screen. We are seeing the highest auto loan delinquency rates and auto loan repossession rates since 1990. What was it? 96, 94?
94. You know,
that's before I was born. To me, that's important.
Yeah.
What you got here. The percent of subprime auto borrowers at least 60 days past due on their loans rose to 6.11% in September, the highest in data going back to 1994, according to Fitch Ratings. In April, that figure slipped from a previous high of 5.93% in January. But after burning through tax returns, contending with a shakier job market, and grappling with still elevated inflation, more car owners have become delinquent. That data maps to exactly what we get from Cox Automotive, Pops and Brandon, which also goes all the way back, what was it, to 2006, 2004, something like that?
2000 and something, yeah.
Which also shows the highest level of auto loan delinquency and defaults we've ever seen in their data set, more than nearly 20 years. Pops, I'll toss it to you first. The auto loan apocalypse, the repo-ocalypse, all that stuff has to be on the precipice of happening. I know I play an important role in this show. I got to bring the hyperbole, excuse me.
And
this is the data. You can't laugh at the data. Laugh at the data.
Yes. Yeah. No, I get it. The data every day. The data spells some oncoming freight train. That light at the end of the tunnel is that oncoming freight train every damn day. You know what the good news is? That 93.89% of those subprime borrowers are not delinquent. That's the good news. Okay. You know, just once look at it from a slightly different perspective. Is it bad for those subprime borrowers? For some subprime borrowers, for 6.11% of subprime borrowers? Yes, it is. Is the world as we know it about to end because of it? If it does, it won't be from that. That's just my take.
I just want to throw one other thing out there, and then Brandon, obviously want your take. Brandon from Car Questions Answered. So glad to have you here with us tonight. Pops, another thing that was in there, Brandon, for your fodder as well. The expectation from Fitch is that it will get up to 10%. 1 in 10 auto loans for subprime borrowers will go delinquent, is what they were expecting. That to me feels very material. That is, if we're headed in that direction, how do you not suggest, or how does that not suggest that you'll see a reflux of repoed vehicles, things like that? But Brandon, what's your...
Well, before Brandon answers, I just want to say one thing. Out of all automobile loans, what is the percentage that are subprime? And then take into account that 90% of them, if Fitch's projection comes true, 90% of them will still be good. So 10% of a small piece of the pie will be bad. But it's Brandon's turn. I please bail me out, Brandon.
All right. So there's two additional problems with what we're seeing right now, right? So the majority of repos that are actually going to go through the system are not in that data. And they will not be in that data, and we will never see it because they are small mom and pop buy here, pay here dealers. And those are going to make up a majority of the actual repos that hit the system. So whatever you're seeing right there, it's the tip of the iceberg. Problem number two is there are not enough recovery companies, not enough recovery drivers to actually go pick up these cars. So again, we are seeing just the tip of the iceberg at this moment because, I mean, we've already seen it with Toyota Financial and Wells Fargo. They're paying extra money to go to the front of the line. That screams whatever disaster Zach wants to title it. That to me, it just solidifies just about everything that he just said. I know we beat up on Zach, all this stuff, but it's bad. It's really bad. And we can see it. And the data is not telling the full story because the people who are the sub of the subprime, they're not even getting loans through these places that have to actually report and record this data. They're going to Bob's Used Cars and they're buying this car and they can't make the payments. So I'm seeing it go to auction right now. And these small auctions that I go to that I'm able to actually film at, we would see buy here, pay here dealers that would regularly send 5, 6, 7 cars to auction every week. Now we're seeing 20, 25, 30 from these same dealers. I know it's a small sample size, but if it's happening at just one dealer, it's happening all across the market right now.
If I may, Dad, just before you jump in, because I'm seeing you brought it up, and I'm also seeing it in the chat. And Brandon, you're talking about how really what we're looking at with the subprime borrowers is the tip of the iceberg. Your words, and I agree with you. Then we're not going to see all of the subprime borrowers who are going delinquent actually show up in the data set. Let's give some context here with one other data set that also touches on prime delinquency rates. This data comes from Cox Automotive. Cox is the big conglomerate in the auto space. And you can see here they say auto loan performance was mixed in September as delinquencies increased, but defaults, that's actually the bank giving up on the loan ever coming due, declined. Loans delinquent for 60 days or more increased for the 5th month in a row, and we're up 13.3% from a year ago. In September, 1.89% of auto loans were severely delinquent. Then we have 7.38% of subprime, 7.38% of subprime loans. So the data from Cox paints a scarier picture for those with subprime credit. However, it's still sub 2% for the market overall. So Pops, that kind of goes back to your point, subprime versus the market overall. You've got some differences there. That doesn't mean it's not happening though. And the tide has obviously turned.
I am not suggesting for a moment that it's not happening. My suggestion is that even though it is happening, even though there are issues within the lenders, it's nowhere near the point of major concern. Okay, it goes back to 2007, 2008, 2009. Mortgages represent trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars. And when those go bad, that impacts a larger percentage of the market. Even though automobile loans might be $2 trillion, it pales in comparison to mortgages. So that as far as lending institutions are concerned, as far as the Fed is concerned, as far as the government is concerned, that's a manageable collapse if there is a collapse. Okay? Is it good? No, it's not good data. It's certainly not good data. I mean, we can look all across the economy and see that it's not good data anywhere you look in the economy. Is it the type of data that suggests there's a collapse around the corner? I don't think so. But I think there's warnings there that we do need to pay attention to. If that
What do
makes
you think,
sense.
Brandon? Do you think I'm over the top with how I'm personifying this, or do you think it's actually, because we've been talking about bubbles and repocalypse and apocalypse and all that crap for years? because prices in this market have been wild. Like truly, this is not how the market used to operate, and it's kind of becoming the new normal. Do you think we're at an inflection point where it's really going to change, or do you think this is going to be kind of like what I'm hearing you say, Dad, is this is going to be a bit of the status quo, and it's not actually that bad? It's bad for the people affected, but it's not this huge macro event. What do you think, Brandon?
I think we've already hit our inflection point because we've seen the data trend higher in the repo market. We've seen the trends in the wholesale market go down. There's always going to be a lag on the retail side, but now we're starting to see retail prices come down a little bit on the used car side. There's not going to be a crash, and there's not enough inventory to justify it. It won't happen. There'll have to be something greater that happens in our economy that is not necessarily dealing with cars that has to happen to actually crash this car market, because there's just no inventory, right? What I will say is that when the Fed raises interest rates, when interest rates go up, there's a big there's a time period, there's a lag that's put on, and we're not really seeing what the interest rate hikes, they haven't really like shown themselves in the data. We see demand going down, but what's from these interest rate hikes, where we're really going to see is probably going to be 6 months. It's probably going to be 12 months down the road from here. And I think it's just going to be it's probably even the worst case scenario for our market, that it's going to take so long and there's going to be this grind down, because there are going to be a lot of businesses that actually get hurt more because there's not this Band-Aid ripoff from like what we saw in the 80s, from them bumping interest rates the way that they should have raised interest rates a long time ago, right? The economy was running too hot. Prices were too hot. It's just going to take a long time to grind out. And I mean, the reason why they raise them so slow is because they're trying to hit this soft landing. But the Fed has never been able to pull that off before. So I'm not anticipating that it happens this time either.
You mentioned it, Brandon. I just want to pull this up, Pops. You mentioned it. We are starting to see a little bit of a cool down in the used car market. Emphasis on little bit. This data came out from Cox from Manheim just yesterday evening, a classic Friday news release from one of our data sources. Prices are 4% lower than 2022 overall, as newer age groups increase in mix and older mix declines. So you actually have some good news year over year. Not a lot of good news, 4% to a lot of us, when we're now talking about the average transaction price for a used car being well north of $30,000 and a new car well north of $40,000. 4% doesn't sound like an awful lot, but maybe it's the start of that grind down. What do you think, Dad?
Well, I think that 4%, and I believe the reason that retail prices might have come down about 4% is because in order to keep people in some type of reasonable payment with higher interest rates, either one of two things have to happen. Your customer has to come up with more cash down, and most don't have it, or you have to lower the price of the car so that you can keep the payment in a range where the customer can say yes and the bank will agree to finance it. And I think it's more of that than the other. So what we're seeing is prices might be coming down like 4% from last year. Payments are either equal to or higher than what they were at this same time a year ago. Even though prices have come down, payments are higher. So if you said to most people, or if you asked most people, well, do you feel like used car prices are coming down? They would go, no, my payment's higher than what I wanted it to be. And when most customers equate price, they equate it to a monthly car payment. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Absolutely. I mean, I talk about this a lot because I don't like debt. Debt's not something that I want to have in my life. I don't want to give it to my customers. But that, I mean, that's the way the world is, right? Someone's going to go into a car dealership, and if they want a car, they're going to say, okay, if I can get this for $300 a month, that's what I want to do. And it doesn't matter what the end price is. That's why you see a lot of these buy here, pay here dealers. I mean, this is how they survive. They're selling $5,000 cars for $12,000, and then as long as they can get these people in these payments, they just roll them out.
Mm, mm, mm.
It's a good thing you don't need a car.
The other factor in all this that I want to bring up is auto insurance. Before I do, put you
Yes.
guys on the spot. Pops, I know we looked at this maybe a week or so ago.
Yes.
Brandon, do you have a guess for what Cox Automotive reports as the average new car interest rate and used car interest rate? Do you have a guess what they are? Put them in the chat as well.
New interest rate, I would guess somewhere around 7.5% to 8%.
Yep.
Used interest rate, this is just reporting that the entities that actually can report, right? So I'm guessing 15% for used.
What do you think, Pops? I think maybe you remember it, Dad, because we looked at it, what was it, maybe all of a week ago now?
Yeah, I think it's like 9% on the new car side and a little over 14% on the pre-owned side. Those are averages. That doesn't mean that you can't go out and buy a new car, and if you have good credit, take advantage.
10%.
Oh my God, and take advantage of some subvented interest rates from the manufacturer and their captive lender. But on average, oh my God, it's 9.95%.
Yeah,
Jeez.
auto loan rates have moved higher to start October, with average new up to 9.95% and used to
How old
14.
is this data right here?
This came out on October 10th.
So it's going to be even higher right now because the 10-year Treasury yield just got pumped in the last week. So it's going to be even higher than that right now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So to your point, Pops, there's relief on price, because we actually see that also on the new car side. You see it on the new car side. The latest data came out. New car prices are down from their all-time high. What was it? It was like the average transaction price was $49,000 a year ago, and now it's down to like $47,500 at 10% interest.
Yeah, payments are probably higher than they were a year ago, even though the selling price of the vehicle is less. And if you said to the customer, "Well, you realize the price was lower," no, my payment's higher, and that's what they look at. That's people's perception. So even though prices are dropping, the ultimate cost of the vehicle is not because of the interest that's being charged on the loans.
The other factor in this that I want to bring up that a lot of people don't think about, there are two things that we don't talk a lot about that go into the total cost of ownership and your monthly payment. So Brandon, you're obviously very proud and we agree with it. The idea of don't take on debt. So you can buy the thing. But a lot of people are in a situation where they actually finance it. So we're talking about 10% interest rate. Obviously the out the door price, the price that you negotiate. We have all sorts of videos and guides on out the door price. That's another thing that'll factor into your monthly payment. Fuel is something we don't talk a lot about, but there's gas prices. Those haven't been in the news, or electricity costs. We're not going to talk about that tonight. The other two, cost to ownership things to factor in: insurance, which I've got a headline here that I'm going to pull up, and the actual maintenance and repairs of that vehicle, which we also have recent data on that as well. So Brandon and Pops, this was just published a month ago on CNN. Car insurance rates just had their biggest annual jump in 47 years. This is why is because everything has gone up in price, including those vehicles that they're writing the insurance for and the parts that they are necessary to do repairs. Go for it, Dad.
Well, I was going to say, if the average transaction price for a new car is $47,500, and 3 years ago that average transaction price might have been $39,000, well, the value of the vehicle has gone up. So if the value of the vehicle has gone up, the cost to insure that extra value has to go up. And then, God forbid you have an accident, the cost to repair it has gone up. So if insurance companies are going to see the cost to repair go up, and on an electric vehicle, they don't have to get into much of an accident for that to be totaled. The costs of replacement and repair has gone up dramatically. The initial cost of the vehicle has gone up dramatically. So yeah, of course your insurance rates have to go up, and people, and I will thank Antonio for this, because he sent me the article and I shared it with you. People, and we've said it a million times, people need to understand what their insurance is going to be before they commit to actually buy the damn car. They need to say, yep, I think I want it. Hold on one second. Let me call my insurance agent and find out what that's going to do to my insurance. Now, if they find out that their insurance is going up another $100 or $150 a month because of that brand new car, well, they might have a second thought about it now.
Do you see this at all with your clientele, Brandon? Obviously, you're selling cars to folks that, are sub $5,000 vehicles. I'd imagine insurance on those, even though the vehicle value isn't quite high, is still going to be significant. I mean, is this manifesting itself in your line of work as well?
Yeah, it seems like a lot more often recently that it's been that somebody can't buy a car because they'll call and want to add the insurance, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. They might be buying a $2,500 car, but their insurance is going to be like almost $300 a month. Now, I mean, it depends on the driver, obviously. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can't. No one's going to pay 10% of what they're paying for the car every month to insure it. And I could be wrong, but I think too, on top of Ray's point about the cars just being more expensive, so they're going to be more expensive to insure. Insurance rates also track the treasury bonds too, correct?
That
I mean,
I don't know.
That's how they make money, is holding on to all of our premiums. And then
Insurance rates do track credit history on the insured. So if you have a bad credit history, your rate's going to be higher than somebody that has a good credit history. But I don't know if they track treasury bonds. That I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that's where all the holding money goes to actually make these insurance companies money.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. I mean, I can speak to it a little bit. We sell vehicle service contracts, colloquially referred to as extended warranties. They're like pseudo insurance. They're not insurance, except in California, it's mechanical breakdown insurance. And the way you make money on those, the way a dealer makes money, the way we make money on them is very simple. You sell them with a markup when you sell the product. So it costs a certain amount to write the insurance policy. Call it $500. Then you sell it for $1,000 or $750. That's where you make money. Then all the money that person just gave you, that sits in a reserve account. That reserve account goes to invest that money. There's all sorts of, even in our pseudo insurance line of work, extended warranties, there's all sorts of regulation about how aggressive those investments can be, and they're highly regulated. So I'd imagine for an insurance carrier, it's even more aggressive because those are even more highly regulated than vehicle service contracts, extended warranties. But that is how you make money on those products, is you pool everyone together and you hope that you earn out more from your investments than
they're going to have these investors that are piling in to actually back these insurance companies. And if it seems it's just easy to make money right here in the bond market, then those rates actually have to be attractive to these investors, because I mean, why would they even invest in that when they can go and get 5% money on a 10-year, right?
That's happening everywhere. There's we saw this. We were talking about earlier this week over on the Ray and Zach channel, Brandon. Another part of this auto loan apocalypse is the fact that more and more financial institutions are stopping their lending programs around consumer auto loans. It's too risky. It's unclear that they're going to make money. Yeah. And there's more obvious areas where they can be doing that investing. I mean, we looked at US Bank was down 63% year over year in originations. Ally was down 13. You did a great video talking about Ally. Like, this stuff. So we're seeing it both in terms of consumer delinquency because of the affordability crunch and everything that's going on there. And then we're also seeing it in terms of getting approvals for new auto loans. These financial institutions are pulling out of that. The insurance companies need to find ways to make their returns more attractive. Everyone's just trying. I'm young and I'm naive, but everyone's just trying to make money here, and they're trying to find their way to do it. And who's getting crunched? The consumer, I think. Right. I think that's the most obvious answer.
Yeah, but the consumer pays for everything. It's just, I mean, the whole economy doesn't work if the consumers don't spend money. So, we're the engine that keeps the damn thing running. When consumers stop spending is when we get into trouble.
So let me pull something up on the screen. Because who knows? Maybe you're spot on about all of this, because you're saying that what you said earlier, what I heard you say is that you don't think there's some big kaboom going to happen, bubble burst, reset. And Brandon, you echoed similar sentiment. You said it was going to grind back to some sort of more reasonable pricing, more affordability. There's a great Twitter account called Car Dealership Guy, an anonymous Twitter account. All right. Temperature check. This is from yesterday. I thought this was a great post. I loved it. 1 million views on this. Temperature check on the economy. For anyone in the car business, how's your month going? Tell us what region you're in. I'm not going to read every single comment, but it's summarized right about here with this GIF, okay, of the house on fire, Dad. All you got to do, Pops and Brandon, if you're open to speaking about how business has been for you so far this month, I think that'd be really interesting. But all you got to do is like get a little temperature check of people's micro economies, their day to day. It's tough out there right now. Cars aren't being sold. Consumers are voting with their wallet, and they're not buying cars right now.
Well, I'll let Brandon start because I believe he's having a good month.
Yeah. So, when the economy is doing great, our car lot does good. When the economy is not doing great, our car lot does better. Because
Wow.
I mean, we sell cars that are $5,000 and under, and what that means is when the economy starts to get worse, then other dealers aren't buying the stuff that I want to buy, so I can go in there and buy it cheaper, and then I'm going to sell it cheaper than anybody else too. So we actually gain a bigger customer base as the economy it gets worse, right? Because this big mid-tier of car buyer that's going out and buying some of these lower end new cars, they're buying the $7,000 to $10,000 used cars. They actually migrate down into my customer base as times get tougher. So if the economy goes really, really south from here, then prices at auction will get hammered. I'll be able to go in and buy stuff for $800 to $1,500 again, and then sell it for $2,500 and just roll them out. So economy bad is great for my business.
Wow. Super interesting. All right, Pops, what do you make of it? Both what Brandon just shared and the other anecdotes from the internet.
We've known for months, or we have suspected for months, that the retail side of the new car business is stagnant. If it wasn't for fleet sales, the numbers wouldn't look as good as they do. And that goes back, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, perhaps, when we first started seeing. I think it was in January where we first started seeing it. That, sales were up to and then like, from the next to the last paragraph, the fleet sales jumped to 23%. Well, that's where the sales were. So I would suspect that there's going to be somewhat of a slowdown, but there's still demand. I had this conversation with Jared Kalfas the other day, and he said the manufacturers aren't going to start producing more affordable vehicles because the vehicles that they're buying, there seems to be more than enough people. The vehicles that they're producing, there seems to be more than enough people to be buying them. And until that changes, until that demand goes away, so it might slow down a little bit. I've said it before and I'll say it again. These are unusual times. It's not normal times. These are abnormal times. And it's so hard to try to apply what we've learned over the past, in my case, 40 some years, in Brandon's case, 12, 15 years. It's hard to try and apply what we've learned in that time to these really unique times that we find ourselves in, because a lot of it just doesn't make any sense, at least in my opinion.
Go for it, Brandon. Go for it.
Yeah, so I've talked to some auction owners recently. We did an interview with them on our other channel, and what their opinion is that we're going to get back to seasonality like we had 4 years ago of cars. So I think there's going to be an overall trend down, but I agree with them that we're going to get back to these ebbs and flows that would naturally happen in the market where, all right, from here throughout December and January, we're going to grind down. Then we're going to get this pop at tax time. And then you're going to get grind down through summer, a little bit of pop in October for whatever reason. I can never figure it out. There's always a pop in October. I don't know why. And then grind down towards the end of the year and then pop again. And then but I think the overall averages are going to continue to go down. It's not going to be quick. It's going to take years. We have it's just a vacuum of cars that left the system in these last 3 years. But I think seasonality is going to play more of a role again, and it's not going to be to where we have just these unexpected pops anymore from money just being pumped to the system. We're going to get back to, okay, people have less money during the holidays and now they have more money because of tax time. Kids are going back to school. It's going to go down a little bit. I think we're going to get back to that kind of scenario.
I've got a question for you guys and for everyone that's here with us. So last year around tax time, so tax time obviously is the springtime, we saw used car prices appreciate like a small rocket ship for a little period of time there, and then they came back down to earth. Should I arbitrage this, guys? Again, this is not financial advice to anyone that watches this show, but this can be financial advice from Brandon and Pops to me. Like, I remember last year, 2 years ago, thinking, damn it, I wish I bought a minivan because I could have held it for a year and sold it and made some money. Not that I'm necessarily trying to make money from this, but it's like to track it and maybe prove a point. I guess I'm wondering, guys, should I do this? Because what you just said, Brandon, if there's going to be seasonality again, then we should expect to see used car prices go back up in the springtime. Like I'll speak for myself. I think new cars end of this year will be a fine time. There's going to be a surplus of inventory. There's going to be huge incentives with regards to APRs. But used cars, it's more ambiguous. Maybe I should go buy one. Maybe I should come down and hang out with you, go to the auction, buy one, hold on to it for 6 months, sell it during tax time.
I told you we need to go buy you an $800 car at the auction and then drive it back and make a video. But
I like that.
Anyway, you're talking about should you? I mean, this is what I do every year. Right. End of November, December, January, we buy every car that we can. We try to have about 150 cars, and typically throughout the year, we'll only hold 80 cars. So I'm buying almost double right for that time, and we'll make 20% of the money that we'll make all year long in about a 15-day span.
Wow.
But we do this every year.
I want to ask a question. And I either one of you can answer first. I don't care. What do you think let me rephrase this. Do you think there will be an impact with student loan repayments starting up again? Will that impact both the new and used car market?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I mean, I think the answer is yeah. Yeah, it just adds another debt burden that was previously unencumbered. You didn't have to pay it. Now you have to pay it. Absolutely. That the Bloomberg article profiled a woman at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore who got her car repossessed. Yeah, absolutely. Young adults and adults in general having to pay. Yeah, I think that'll absolutely, for them, negatively impact their lives and potentially positively impact the used car market in terms of adding a surplus of inventory back. Yeah, I think there'll be an impact.
I don't think there's going to be a major impact. I think people are not going to stop paying their cars to pay their student loans. And I think the X factor in there is how quickly is the government going to try to collect on these loans, because then you garnish wages and you take money out of the system. I think it will hit psychology of the market because people will feel more poorer, however you say that phrase. But the psychology is going to make them spend less money. So in that aspect, it could actually hit the whole economy just because people are know that they have this extra bill. Even if they're not paying it, they're not going to go out and buy a new car when they're like, okay, well, I've got this extra $350 that I'm just not paying right now. So, but I really don't think it's going to have a massive effect on the market.
I think it'll also take people out of the market in the sense of, as you're describing, like, because the sticker shock, when you do go out and you realize that the average transaction price for a new car is $42,000 and you're thinking, oh crap, now I got to spend this money both on rent and on groceries and then also now on my student loans. So I think it is a bit of a double whammy. Yeah.
I think once you combine the cost of automobile insurance skyrocketing, interest rates having gone up, and then people suddenly confronted with having to pay their student loans back, and whether that student loan payment's $150 a month or $300 a month, whatever it is, that's $150 or $300 a month less that they have to put towards a car payment and an insurance payment for that car. So I think it will have a material impact on the amount of new and used cars that get sold, because it will take more people out of the market that might have been in the market. Now, perhaps those very people aren't in the market at all at the moment. I don't know. I mean, because basically we're appealing to 17% of the population that believes that they can still afford to buy a car.
Aren't these the people that, I mean, they're typically going to be younger people that are recently out of school, right? I mean, I know there's people that have student loan payments for years, but
Yes.
a majority of these people are going to be just right out of school. These these younger kids that are actually paying these higher prices and defaulting on their loans, right? We're seeing that in the data that these are the people who are not making their payments. So I mean, I'm just not sure how like what percentage of these people are going to just say, you know what, I wasn't paying it for this long. I'm going to keep not paying it.
But the difference is it's not just kids that have just recently gotten out of school. You know, the impasse to where they didn't have to pay. Well, that impacted everybody that had been paying, that has student loans, that might have had student loans for 10 years that they were paying on, and they still had another 5 years worth of payments to make.
Right.
So it's not just the fresh young kids coming out of college. It's the kids that might have been out of college for 10 years that suddenly they didn't have to make that payment. Now they have to start making that payment again.
Also, would just like to say, many of those kids are actually adults. So yes, these people, they carry this debt burden sometimes for decades.
Oh,
Trying to pay it
absolutely.
off. So this is
Yes.
well into adulthood and well into, if it's what you want to do, starting a family and having that financial burden and stress. I want to share one other data point, because what you're bringing up here with really this debt to income is what's going through my mind. It's like, what's your debt to income to be able to afford other credit facilities to go buy things, which again, between the three of us on this screen, we all agree, like I said earlier, if you can buy something outright, buy it outright. Don't carry the debt. But many people, our system, it functions on credit. We've got already a shrinking a group of people out there interested in purchasing vehicles. Again, from Cox Automotive, this was from October 10th. I love that they shared this information. Cox owns Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book. And what does it say here? It says leads are down year over year so far in October on both Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book, and leads are down for the month compared to September on both sites. Cox Automotive also owns DealerTrack. DealerTrack is the portal that most dealerships use to fire off your credit application to all the various different financial institutions that the dealership works with. Credit applications on DealerTrack were down 17% year over year last week. I look at this data every other week or so when it comes out. I have never seen it say 17%. 17%, that is the highest number I've seen.
That's a lot.
Unique applications on same-store basis saw a declining trend. What I find so fascinating about everything we've covered thus far, we were just looking at a tweet from an anonymous car dealership guy account with all sorts of personal anecdotes talking about how, things are not going great. We have the macro data from literally the conglomerate, the biggest player in this space, showing, hey, the market's slowing down. We've talked about all these points of why it's difficult for consumers to be in the market and how this should lead to, unfortunately, more used cars coming in through repossessions. And then, Pops, you throw the whammy on there of also this like grace period where you didn't have debt that you had to service. Well, now that's coming undone. It really does make me question for both of you guys, intellectually, I get why you're saying there's not going to be a big crash, but I can't buy into it enough to say that I agree, because you look at all of this. We didn't even bring up the fact, one more thing, and then I'll shut up. The UAW strike for Ford and GM and Stellantis, the days supply of the vehicles that they're striking, and days supply for those of you playing along at home, is how many days how many days does it take to sell the available inventory based on the current sales rate? The days supply for the vehicles that aren't being produced is flat or going up a little. So that only means people aren't buying them. So I don't see how you get an outcome here that isn't prices precipitously having to come down. It's not connecting for me. I get where you guys are coming from, but I can't buy into it. I just can't buy into it.
I mean, I can tell you why it's not going to happen is because the auctions that I go to, there's one auction that before the pandemic, they were running 900 cars a week. They are lucky to get 400 cars a week right now. There's no cars out there. And if there are no cars out there and dealers aren't going under yet, they're not going. I mean, there's dealers that are closing up that are having a harder time, but across, I mean, the dealer landscape, they're not going under yet. There's still the same amount of buyers at these auctions. If they're going to fight over fewer vehicles, the prices are going to stay elevated. If they have to pay elevated prices at these auctions, they are not going to sell them for reduced prices on their lot. That's why prices are going to remain high for a long time.
And I get what you're saying, Zach, and under normal situations, what you say makes sense. That you would think that there. So at the very least, I don't think there's going to be a collapse. There could be a slowdown, okay, but as long as the manufacturers are still appealing to 17% of the population, and even if that number shrinks to 15% of the population, that's still 35 million people that they're appealing to try and sell 15 million new cars every year. You know, and if I'm them, I'm thinking, well, that seems doable. You know, whether it is or it isn't, I don't know, but you would look at the numbers and go, yeah, that should be doable. And so, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but these are abnormal times, baby.
What about the factor? One more thing, and then we'll go to the chat and we'll switch gears. It's been 40 minutes of talking about this, so sorry to bore everyone, but I find this. I love both of your perspectives, and I love sharing the data with you because it informs my thinking, and I learn a lot from both of you when we do these shows. What about the factor of floor plan costs? So for dealers that floor plan their inventory, that cost is going up. So they go to the auction, they buy a car, or the OEM, you know, their factory rep, they get allocated inventory. The more time that vehicle spends on the ground, the more it's costing that dealership because floor plan costs. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, floor plan, it's not just in automotive, floor plans in pretty much any retail. It's your line of credit. You don't pay cash for those vehicles in most cases. Looking at a guy who I think does pay cash for his vehicles, but in most cases, you don't pay cash for your vehicles, you finance them. And so every day that car's sitting there, you accrue interest. That should incentivize these dealers to wheel and deal and get deals done, shouldn't it? Like, shouldn't that also be another forcing function that will drive prices down?
Yes, the problem is they look at this Tahoe they got sitting out on their lot, and it's $25,000 and they can't sell it. So what are they going to do? They're going to drop it to 20 grand so they can sell it. But then when they go to the auction, it's going to cost them $22,000 to buy that same Tahoe again. So it makes no sense for them to lower that price to a number that they can actually sell it for when they have to go right back to the auction and pay more than what they're going to actually sell the car for. So it's so stupid. The way the market is operating right now is terrible, and what dealers are paying at auction is a higher amount than what they should be able to actually sell these vehicles for on their lot.
That can't last forever, though. Like, markets are rational. Markets can be irrational, but markets have to end up being rational, Brandon, because you have to make money. Like, eventually, either that or you're looking at like a financial crisis, a true financial crisis, because then the banks are ultimately the ones holding the bag. But like, that irrationality can't perpetuate itself forever, right? Like, dealers can't just keep buying cars, having them sit for 6 months and losing money. They'll go out of business.
I believe Alan Greenspan at one time defined it as irrational exuberance. Okay. And it was irrational exuberance. And yes, you would think dealers can't afford to just keep paying to have things sit. It's counterintuitive, you know, and especially one of the things you learn in the business is what you don't want those costs to keep accruing. You want to sell things as quickly as you can. So a lot of it goes against what the training is for the people that are actually running many of these dealerships. It is just the most unusual situation and circumstance that I have ever seen in the car business, because what Brandon said, none of it makes any rational sense. But
So that's
yet,
where I'm coming from. It'll have to.
I get
revert.
it. But every time we apply rational sense, it doesn't work. It hasn't been coming out that way. So until things return to some sense of normal, and I agree with Brandon. I think that could take years. It's hard to apply rational thinking to an irrational situation.
Yeah. What's the saying in the market? The market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. Is that
Probably, yeah.
yeah.
That's a good.
So that might be the exact thing that happens to a lot of these dealers is that they're just used to these irrational prices. They keep buying at these irrational prices, and then all of a sudden,
And then consumers
yeah,
buy
they
at
just
the
say no.
irrational. Enough consumers buy at the irrational price.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing about it is eventually these rates are they're probably doing it right now is what happened. And the rates are going to hit it hard enough. And there's going to be a lot of dealers that just stuck with a lot of this inventory. They got to play their floor plans. And we're probably going to see a flush of a lot of dealers. And that's, I mean, I'm a used car dealer. I've got a lot of buddies who are used car dealers, and it's sad to say, but there are going to be a lot of shops that actually are going to close up because this is the only market that they've known. There's not dealer. There are a lot of dealers made in the last 4 years. And they're going to figure out this market's not as easy as they thought.
I agree with that. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation. I don't think there should be 75,000 new and used car dealers nationwide. I don't think you need that many to do what we do. So anyway, can I go to the chat? You guys good? We'll put a pin in it.
You're the host. You're the director.
All right. I just want to address one thing that came up in the chat, and then there's like 15 that I've started here. The first is from Ryan. He says, Ray, Zach, and especially Brandon are multimillionaires. Not sure they can relate to the average middle-class American. I just want to say, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
When I'm a millionaire one time over, I will be so proud. I'll announce it, gang. Like I'll come on the show. I'll tell. I've never seen $1 million. Well, I have seen $1 million because our company has that from the investments we have. But like, I ain't got it, man. So thank you, Ryan, for thinking that we put on. Because I can't speak for these two. I put on better. That just made me chuckle a little bit.
I can say that I'm a multi-thousandaire.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you right now with this YouTube thing and my car lot, I'm working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And I can tell you, I sure as hell wouldn't be doing that if I was a multimillionaire. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm glad Ryan thinks we are. I'm glad we give off the perception that we are. I mean, here I am, broadcasting from the living room of my $105,000 condo that I purchased furnished. Okay. So yeah, and apparently if I open those blinds, I'm going to have a multi-million-dollar view from that $105,000 condo. I spent a long time. Brandon and I had a conversation yesterday, and he learned one thing that our audience doesn't really know about. But I took a 5-year break from the car business, and I had a Golf USA franchise in Mesa, Arizona, and I went bankrupt. I lost, as Brandon found out yesterday, I lost over $400,000. Now, had I not lost all that money, maybe today I would be a millionaire. Okay. But I can assure you, I am merely a multi-thousandaire. And I have, at 72, I have no dreams of ever becoming a millionaire.
So I just saw my wife put in the comments said, this is the first I've ever heard of this. Where's mine? So apparently I've been hiding it very well. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am a multi-millionaire, but we have to keep it a secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I love that. I absolutely love that. And then for those of you, actually, we're going to do it because Sean said, Ray, did the UAE adopt you yet? And I just want to pull up here. This is an example of some of that irrational exuberance that we were talking about earlier. I don't know if you guys saw this again, not financial advice by any stretch. VinFast, one of those upstart automotive companies, their stock in the past 6 months is down 85.48%. Talk about sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, pension funds, all the institutional investors you ever want to name, plowing money into companies valuing them in ways that were totally irrational, and now they're returning back to
Well, can I
reality.
answer
So
the
here,
question? I have not found a Saudi benefactor yet.
but don't go too far. Just
That's all I
keep
was
it
going. I haven't found one yet,
perfect.
and if I may, I haven't really tried. But but the next time I'm in DC, I'm telling you, we're going up to the embassy.
All right, we're gonna turn our attention here to some thoughtful contributions. I love you, Dad. I just get a little nervous sometimes. Shannon, thank you for the contribution. She says, "Great show as usual. Always enjoy Brandon's current and real world experience. So do we."
Yes.
Shannon, feel super fortunate to have built, I'm gonna say it, a friendship with Brandon over the past, what has it been? Just I guess the year that we've gotten to know each other. So really, really, really. Appreciate
February or January, I think, when you sent me that email that you're mad at me for making a video saying that you were wrong.
You sent him an email about that? Wow.
I thought I sent him an email just reaching out kindly, but maybe I was mad. I don't know. I don't think I get mad.
Your wife says it was last December, by the way.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's coming up, man. Coming up. Yeah, it's been nice getting to know you and your family. From Jason here. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Hello, gentlemen. My wife was in a car accident. Sorry to hear that,
Hate
man.
to hear that. Yeah.
If they determine it to be a total loss, would it be better to lease now or buy, since I'm being forced to? We've got differing opinions here on the show. Brandon is anti-lease. My dad is pro-lease. I don't think I'm gonna lob my 2 cents, and then you guys can go back and forth. I wouldn't get torn up, Jason, on lease or finance. I would be negotiating an out the door price and then figuring out if you want to lease it, you can lease it. If you want to finance it, you can finance it. So it's not a great time to be in the market to buy a new car, but it's better today than it was a month ago. So I would just go negotiate out the door, find something you like, choose whatever you want afterwards.
And I would say it all depends on how much the manufacturer is underwriting and supporting their lease programs. There's not a tremendous number of really good lease programs out there at the moment, but if the car that you're thinking about getting has a good lease program, it might make sense. If you're thinking about an electric vehicle, like a Kia or something, where they will pass the $7,500 federal tax credit through on the lease, you can lease it and then turn around a month later and buy out your lease so that you can take advantage of that $7,500 credit. But it really depends on the make model that you're looking at as to whether or not a lease would make sense.
My turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Don't buy a car from a dealer. Don't buy a car from me. Go find a car from the individual. That's the place that you're going to be able to actually find the best deal. Buy something you can afford, pay cash for it, and make sure you get it checked out by your mechanic before you purchase it.
There you have it,
Brandon. And don't go to LA to try and buy a Toyota. Holy cow, from Tita. Went to Toyota in Los Angeles, $13,000 over MSRP. We had Marcello from Toyota World over on the Ray and Zach channel yesterday. It was an awesome show. We learned a lot from him. The fact that he told us there are certain Toyota vehicles, I mean, they're not even taking orders on Siennas. They're steering people to the Grand Highlander just because they don't know when they're going to get a Sienna. He was telling us orders from the end of 2021 still haven't gotten fulfilled for some of his customers. What's going on at Toyota is an abomination, I think. I mean, the fact that their customers are still coming back and so loyal to the brand, but what's going on at Toyota is just terrible. It's tragic for would-be customers. End of 2021, and it's about to be 2024, and you still haven't gotten your new car.
I love. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. That was it. Glad you could wait. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna branch off just for a little bit. I loved hearing his interview with you guys. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Or the day before, whatever.
Yesterday.
But talking about people not test driving cars and just buying them. It happens at my dealership. We have to force people to test drive the cars. They see them online. This is a car. Some of these cars, they have almost 200,000 miles, and they want to come in and pay $2,500, $3,000 without even looking at the car first. Blows my mind that someone would buy anything. You know what? If I'm going into a store that sells TVs, I want to at least
Watch
Try
it.
the remote out. They'll do something. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna. But people come in and they're going to put their lives in these vehicles and not even get behind the steering wheel. That blows my mind. But it happens all the time.
If I can add something, that there was a comment on that video yesterday on that show, and the comment was from, well, yeah, but if you've been driving, say, German brands for the last 10 years, you know, you have no need to drive the new. What, they haven't changed in 10 years? They haven't. They might not have changed the seats, or they might not have changed the transmission, or they might not have changed yet. I mean, there's so many things that you need to make sure are comfortable in an automobile, that how anybody could spend $3,500, let alone $100,000 on something, and not test drive it to make sure that it's comfortable and that they like it and they like the way it rides. You don't buy a pair of shoes without trying them on. Well, I guess you do. You buy them from Amazon. They ship them to you. They don't fit. You ship them the hell back. But the point is, you're allowed to try them on before you decide whether or not you're keeping them.
Not if you're buying a Toyota.
Not if you buy a lot of vehicles, apparently.
We've got from Jay saying, did they talk about Shift declaring bankruptcy yet? No, we haven't. And not even over on the Ray and Zach channel where we do our daily news you can use show. We need to spend a moment here. Before we do, I just want to let everyone know back at CarEdge.com. This is where we can help you for all things auto. And we updated the homepage recently. We now got this cute photo of me and my dad. What do you think, Brandon? Do we look trustworthy?
Very pretty. I like it.
What do you think, Pops?
I love that. That's from our time in Vegas.
You got to put Ray on like a step stool or something though. How tall are you, Ray?
Probably.
Well, it's not a good start.
probably about 5.5, maybe 5'6" today.
Okay,
I mean,
know.
The tallest I ever was like 5'6.5". I always wanted to be 5'7", and I just bought some new jeans. And my jeans are, the length for the legs have been 30 inches. And I just and these jeans at 30 inches, they're 2 inches too long.
I'm messing with you. I know you can't be that short because I know Zach is tall because he has been down to North Carolina to go to auction with me. And I am not tall, but I'm not short, and he makes me look short. So,
well, can I say this? He is the tallest member of our family.
Yeah, I heard your daughter is like 5 foot nothing. Right?
5'1". Every bit of 5'1".
One more thing, gentlemen, if I may. I'm proud because we also made this update today. We put all of the resources up here in the top right next to our Google reviews. So if you haven't left us a review on Google, go for it. But under resources, the free community forum, free deal school, free dealer reviews, free guides, free cheat sheets, free strategy card, free data, and the shop. That's not free, but that's where you can get yourself.
And may I say something, Zach? Somebody put in here that I'm shorter than Tom Cruise, and well, so is my bank account.
Stay tuned. There may be a clickbait version of our homepage coming soon. I'm just working on where the flames are going to go, so just stay tuned for that. The investors are really excited about that one. Yeah,
there's two things we never really talked about. One is Shift Technologies declaring bankruptcy and going out of business, which to me isn't that big of a deal because they really weren't much of a major player in the online used car automotive retail world. The other thing that we never talk about that I think deserves some conversation.
The electricians? You're going to talk about the electricians?
Absolutely. I mean, for people who don't want to go to college, okay, but they want to learn a trade that they can apply and that they'll be able to make a lot of money with, learn to become an electrician, because with the electrification of America for EVs, there's right now a shortage of 4,000 electricians to take care of the existing charging stations around the country. So if you're the type of student that doesn't really want to spend 4 years at a university learning something that you're never really going to apply in life, go learn a trade. And that trade, you should learn to become a certified electrician, because that's a trade that's going to pay for years and years and years to come. Just saying.
Yeah, me and Zach can go do that, and then we'll be multimillionaires.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Let me pull this up here from Internet Guy. Thank you for the contribution. We appreciate it. I just want to know who these $100,000 plus Toyota 4Runner buyers are. I'm a multi-thousandaire and can't imagine. Is everyone rich but me? Has been super frustrating.
Yes, everyone is rich except for you. Next
Yeah.
question.
Well, do you want to make him feel even better? And you have no hope to get there. Okay. You know,
$100,000 4Runners. I've seen a lot of brand new 4Runners, and they're like in the 40s, the 50s.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them are unfortunately still at dealerships that are trying to play the markup game. We have seen, to be very clear, Toyota Tacomas and Toyota Tundras selling significantly below MSRP. You want a Venza? Not going to happen. You want a RAV4? Difficult. You want one of the, even in the States, the Grand Highlanders, the Siennas, the Sequoias. So it really comes back to supply and demand. If there's available vehicles, you might have a better chance. I just want to pull this up from Jason, a bit of a follow-up. The Brands, his wife, who unfortunately had her vehicle totaled in an accident, Acura Integra, that short supply, high demand, so that's going to be a tricky one. The Audi A3, you got a better chance there. Audi Sit, Infiniti Q50. I would say, well, what's your take, Pops? You used to sell Audis.
Well, if Audi has never really been the cheap lease vehicle for the German import cars. Their statement when I was there, and don't forget this was 5-6 years ago, was we're not looking to be the low price leader in leases for our vehicles. So assuming that's still true today, they might not have the best factory supported lease programs. The Infiniti, perhaps, Nissan Infiniti has been known for some pretty strong lease programs for a number of years. The Acura Integra, I'm guessing probably not. Acura doesn't like to throw money at a hot product when it initially comes out, and I believe the Integra for them still qualifies as a hot product that just recently came out.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I interest you in a 2002 Ford Taurus?
That's your favorite car, man. You love that Taurus. Also, I got to learn one of these days. You in your background, I know that everyone can't see because we got the close up. The Ninja Turtles. You're a Ninja Turtle guy too. We got to get that.
Oh yeah. Grew up with Ninja Turtles.
Just one of these days. I do want to bring up two things.
Yes.
One here in the chat, and then one other. We've got from James saying, my girlfriend is getting a car within a week. I've been looking at your role play videos and they've been extremely helpful. That's awesome. The website is rather difficult in navigating, but still try and stick with it, James. You can also, of course, email help@caredge.com and our team would be happy to assist you, or go to the community forum, caredge.com/community. We can help you there. Speaking of my girlfriend, she's out. She's got a girls' weekend. She's out with her friends, but we were out to dinner Thursday night here in Washington, D.C., and I met Nathan, one of our community members who recently purchased a vehicle. And Nathan not only recognized and said hi to me, but also to my girlfriend, Laura, had watched the various role-play videos. And that was the first time, so I just want to share with you guys, the first time that Laura and I got stopped together. And we actually sat next to each other, to Nathan, at dinner. So that was super fun. But it was the first time the two of us were recognized for our role-play video. For the role-play videos that we put on YouTube. Yeah, go for it.
I got a story. I've been recognized a couple times out in public, but the first time that it happened was my absolute favorite, because I was in a grocery store and my wife wanted some wine. So I was going to purchase her some wine, and they have a deal at this grocery store. If you buy 6 or more bottles, you get 10% off. So my son was with me. He likes to push the cart. So we went and got the wine first. And so we had this cart absolutely full of wine bottles. My son was pushing it, and then someone came up to me and recognized me there. So that's the first time I've been recognized. My son, my 5-year-old son, was pushing a cart full of wine, alcohol, through the grocery store.
That's one way to make an impression with people, man.
Yes. Did you make him pay
Anyway,
for
it was
it?
a cool moment. It was a cool moment. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you for spending some of your Saturday night with me, Dad, Brandon, as well. Let's call it a show.
Okay.
We'll be back, me and my dad, over on the Ray and Zach channel on Monday. Brandon's channel is Car Questions Answered and CQA Live. He's got 2 channels now. Please go check out his second channel. He had Alex Preston Giacomo. I can't say his last name, but he's another gentleman. Yeah, Presta Giacomo. I think that's how you say it. Alex has a YouTube channel where he talks about Subarus, and Brandon had a great interview with him. So please just go check out his channels and what he does. Again, Car Questions Answered from his main channel. You'll be able to find his second channel. We also have Brandon coming up as a guest on the Auto Insiders podcast. That episode will probably be coming out sometime in November, so stay tuned. More to come there. And CarEdge.com is where we have all our various resources. Final parting shot from you, Brandon and Pops.
Thanks for letting me come and do this. This is I say this all the time. I said it to Ray yesterday when we had a chat. This is the most fun thing that I do. So anytime I'm able to actually come on the show with you guys, I really love it.
And for me, thanks for giving me something to do tonight. Because otherwise it was a pretty boring day. It was laundry and then changing bed sheets and cleaning. So this gives me something to do. So thank you.
Much love, Dad. Happy to help. All right, guys, you have a good night. We'll see everyone back here sometime soon. Thanks both.
Thank you, everybody.